This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Jumbo, everyone. Another beautiful morning coming to you from the Masai Mara. These are the plains of the Mara Triangle, East Africa, Kenya. And are you ready for your own live safari from the
to us. Yeah. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to andBeyond in Ngala. We have got an incredible view this morning. We've got zebras, wildebeest, impala, even a kudu, and they're all in this big open area. But actually, the reason that we came over is actually because we saw a male lion crossing over in this direction, and so we're actually sitting here listening to hear if there's anything coming our way. But these zebras look nice and relaxed, and we haven't heard anything since, but we're sitting here listening, hoping that we'll hear either alarm calling or that male lion. He crossed over the riverbed and went into a thicket. But it's an absolutely stunning morning here. So behind the camera this morning we have Sebastian. He'll be doing our camera work. And my name is Tessa. So if you listen really carefully, you can actually hear the birds calling in the background. The zebras look incredibly relaxed. It's just stunning hearing this dawn chorus in the background. So the direction that this male lion was walking in was almost exactly to where we are now, and we think he's trying to find his brother. It's one of the Ross males, one of the fathers of the white lion cubs, the Birmingham Pride. And he was walking straight over this way. Unfortunately, we lost him when we had to go around and cross the riverbed. But I definitely think we're going to find him again this morning. It's such a beautiful morning. It's still so nice and cool, so he's definitely still on the move. So even though these animals are quite relaxed around us, doesn't necessarily mean that he's not close by. It might just mean that maybe the wind direction is different, so they can't smell him. But he was calling every few minutes. He was calling and calling, so I think he's trying to find his brother. And if these zebras were to hear that, they might become very alert. I couldn't agree with you more. There's an absolutely stunning glow on the referee horses, on the zebras. This light is fantastic, especially for photography and just appreciating the colors of animals, because I think in the heat of the day we often don't get the true beauty of a lot of things, especially the greens and the browns and the reds. So it's actually stunning in this light to see the zebras with that little bit of golden light. It almost gives them a reddish tinge on the edges. So I think what we're going to do is myself and Sebastian are going to stick around here, see if we can maybe find any signs of that male lion coming towards us.
Well, good luck, Tessa, finding those lions. Yes, it is a beautiful morning here in the Mara Triangle. Yeah, looks like we're going to have a pleasant day. We've started our temperatures at 16 degrees Celsius, but definitely I'm sure it's going to rise later on this afternoon. And look at that beautiful sight I have there. Bananitis trees, never mistake them for acacia trees. Just beautiful and lovely sunlight. Jumbo, my name is Isaac, and on camera I have Bungay. And today we are on a mission to find Ellis and maybe some lions. We'll be updating you about Bahati because I'm going to be looking for him and everything else that is available, around here. But to start with, I have a nice head of elephants. But before I go to elephants, please remember to talk to us on #WildEarth Kids Question at Kids Question. At WildEarth TV, also at FC. Don't forget to get to our website also and send in your questions. There's so many, they will analyze them and they will be answered in due time, but it's such a beautiful morning. The sun is just right. Look at that magnificent view we have here. A beautiful herd of Ellis with lots of lily fans. I cannot stop telling you that this year we've had a nice baby boom. Look at that, how many there are here. And they're all enjoying the red oat grass, Famida triandra. It's from the oat family, the wheat family. We do eat those, so you can imagine how nutritious it is. And this herd looks like they've been here all night. It's nice and easy now. The grass is soft. It's like eating noodles or spaghetti. Just beautiful. And it comes in with a gravy because it's got some water, so it's nice and soft. Remember, they do eat grass as well as plenty of plant matter, creepers, little shrubs, leaves from different trees. They have an amazing digestive system and they eat quite a lot. Many of these little guys you see here, calves, the right name, are still drinking, and so they're very dependent on their mothers for milk. So they're supplementing the milk with a little bit of food here and there. And it's a perfect time before they stop at the age of about 2.5, 3, when they've come fully independent away from milk, or they get wind and they start grazing, browsing, and become part of the herd. By then, at around, when the young one is around 5, the female will be ready to give birth to another youngster. Yeah, it looks like over here they're really enjoying and taking it easy. I'm sure the sun is also nice on their backs after a whole night of rain and wetness. Oh, we know this female. I know her. I've never given her a name, but she's a commoner and a local. I've seen her quite some years, over 20 years now. I've always seen her since she was young. So it's always nice to see her. Well, I think I'm going to move on. It's nice to spot a lion right now, so I'm going to move on. And while I do that, let's take you to another live location.
Surprise, everyone. Good morning. First of all, I'm so glad to have you all on board. We're at the hyena den, and this is so exciting. Firstly, oh, no. Somebody is biting my cord. Oh, no. Okay, we have a small problem. But first I'll say hi to you, and I'll show you what my small problem is. The cub has just bitten my comms lead. Tech's not going to be happy about that. Well, good morning, everyone. It's me, TRISHALA, and I've got Theo on camera with me this wonderful morning in Djuma Game Reserve. 19 degrees Celsius, 66 degrees Fahrenheit here at the hyena den. I'm very happy. And not only me. Can you believe it? I have a special guest on board. He's sitting right here. This, everyone, is Michelle. If you don't know who Michelle is, then you will. He is the general manager at Djuma. Hello and good morning, Michelle.
Morning, Trish, and morning to everybody around the world. lovely to be, or flattered to be invited to join this early morning safari. Many memories over 22 years that Djuma has been in a symbiotic relationship, a mutualistic relationship that benefited both WildEarth and Djuma over the years, and it's lovely to join Theo and Trish on drive this morning.
Oh, yes. And all the excitement of my lead being broken, and Michelle, I forgot to say, Theo is on camera with me this lovely morning, and he's going to be guiding me through comms, at least for this segment. But we have the lovely hyenas, and I'm so glad. So it looks like we have Comet, who's the adult around. There's none of the females around. He's babysitting. He's potentially a father, or the father of some of these cubs. Particularly Ribbons 2, at least those are the ones I can speak for. And Ribbons 2 are not around at the moment, actually. So we've got Hearts 2. And this tiny one here, that's a corky little girl. Oh, I'm sure you are as happy as I am. So happy. I know Lauren's been trying to go to the den, and she told me that it's been difficult because they've been moving a lot, and that'll happen as they grow. Parents and adults will spend less time with these cubs, and then the cubs start moving with them too. I've heard little whoops around camp, which is very cute, which obviously means that they're moving. So I'm just too excited to be spending some time here at the den. And even though we have this earpiece problem, I think we're going to stick around until we have to leave, and I'll just get my guidance from Theo. If that works, I'm sure FC will help me with that. So curious. They came straight up to us when we arrived. Listen to the glorious sounds of the morning. And watch these hyenas investigate. Now to the back of the vehicle. There's a comatose. Oh, you bad, you tech, not happy with you. No. There too. There's just, you know how it is. It's just so difficult to, no. So difficult to, see now they're not even reacting, to be mean to them. I think they might need Uncle Michelle to say, hey. They've become so used to us and the vehicles, which is obviously something that you don't want them to take into adulthood, because not everybody may love hyenas the way we do, but they're also in a protected area, and nobody here is ever going to harm them. So it's kind of let them explore, let them be curious. Here's the little one. It's like hearing the pitter-patter of little feet on your floorboards in your home, except it's the pitter-patter of 4 very smelly paws on the road. All right. Well, something gave them a little bit of a spook, but we're going to stick around and try and figure out how to fix this comm stuff. And we'll send you somewhere else for now.
We had a lovely kudu family, which you can just about see now. It's a male and two females just to the right there, BK. But as you can see, they've just wandered down the hillside and are incredibly well camouflaged, so we can just only see a little bit of movement here and there. And that's why kudus live in thickets, because their camouflage is just that fantastic. Hi everyone, my name is Mike. Behind the camera is BK, and you've joined us at Eco Training's Pridelands Conservancy, where we're now sitting on one of the higher points on the reserve. Because the temperature's a bit cooler today, we thought that it might be a good place for us to listen out for any sounds of animals calling. We had last night a leopard calling right in our camp, and we were hoping that maybe it might be vocal again this morning. What have you seen, BK? Oh, the Montagna. It is gorgeous. Look at that. That is the Drakensberg escarpment. It's a great view this morning, especially with a little bit of haze that's settled low in the valley. So it looks like the lower part of the mountain is quite pale and the higher part is darker. So that's the Drakensberg escarpment. It's almost 2,000 meters high, 1.5 kilometers higher than where we are right now, which is incredible. Hopefully we'll get a bit of rain, which will just settle the dust and make that mountain even clearer. And if you ever get a chance to come down to this part of South Africa, along the northern Drakensberg escarpment, you will be well rewarded, because it is very beautiful, incredibly different to the environment that we have down here in the Lowveld. Not much going on apart from a few birds calling around us right now, but we'll make our way down off of this high point and start to make our way down into the lower areas of Pridelands, and hopefully come right with that little bit of a leopard.
Good morning and welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve, where we have found a pride of lions sleeping in the cool of the early morning. My name is Damon, and behind the camera this morning is Craig. And like I said, wonderful to have come out this morning and almost immediately have found these lions. If you joined us yesterday afternoon, these are the same two lionesses and their 5 cubs that we spent the start of the afternoon drive with yesterday. And they're still in very much the same area. Still up on the edge of this big ravine. But all looking a lot less active than they were yesterday afternoon. Look at those cubs. They've all got their own little... looks like they've all got their own favorite sleeping posture. This cub closest to us, lying with her chin tilted up towards the sky. And then her sibling to the right, looking like he's using that little mound of earth as a pillow. And his tummy rising and falling quite rapidly. So actually having a closer look at these youngsters, some of them look like they've got relatively full tummies. Have a look at that one there, with his head resting on the mound of earth. Looks like there's a bit of a swelling there, like he's had something to eat in the night. And then to the left of him, there's another one that's lying with its legs splayed and a nice cool breeze blowing onto its tummy, helping to keep it cool. And the lionesses, I've had a look at them through my binoculars. It doesn't seem like they've had anything large to eat. There's a slight bulge in their bellies. So they might have caught something maybe a bit smaller yesterday evening, maybe an Ngala or an impala. Something just to hold them over. What's interesting to note though is, for those of you that joined us yesterday, I was talking about how this particular pride of lions this particular pride of lions seems to have fragmented slightly, where these two lionesses are keeping their youngsters away from the other lionesses in their pride, or themselves kind of isolating themselves. And I mentioned that there were 2 other lionesses in the pride, one of which had given birth and one of which was pregnant. Now, that pregnant lioness is actually here too. She's difficult to see now, so we'll maybe move a little bit and then try and show her to you. She's quite inconspicuous, but she's lying nearby, concealed behind some rocks, watching over these lions. No doubt they know she's here and vice versa. But it's almost like she's come to seek out the company of her pride. Might be that she's struggling to catch something by herself and she's hoping that that the other two lionesses, her pride mates, are going to go and hunt and that she can join in and then join in the feast if they do catch something. But again, like I said, there's still this almost fragmentation that's very evident because she's not lying with the rest of these lions. But I think because it's still pretty early and still pretty cool and it's just a magnificent spot where these lions are lying, a lovely view behind them, I think that Craig and I are going to spend a bit more time here. See what these lions get up to.
Welcome back in the Mara, where we have a small herd of elephant grazing. It seems like a nice place. This is where most of the elephants congregate in the afternoon and early morning. My name is Tim, and behind camera we have Big James. It's a nice weather. It's been raining all night, so I'm expecting to see lots of activity, especially on the elephants and plains game. Not quite sure whether we'll see some cats, but at this kind of weather, we always see cats on the road, but cats here have been a little bit shy. So it would be nice to see a good cat activity. Looks like these elephants gathered here for the night. It's starting to warm up a little bit, and the calves need that warmth. When the calves are that young, they need their mother's protection. They need their mother's milk. Not necessarily because they need milk because they're hungry, but they also get comfort while suckling. As a way of comforting them, their mothers always suckle them when they have stress. They'll suckle at intervals just to relieve that stress in their body. The entire family will come in together to actually put in some shade when it's hot. When it's cold, they'll all gather to give them some warmth. And you can see they're facing the sun. They're facing east to sun a little bit. Look at that young calf there, looking so cold. Beautiful morning. I can hear the rollers calling. I can hear the ringneck dove calling. Lots of crickets. Corky francolin. Wow, lots of birds. It's interesting how elephants will come to this plain area and spread out and walk into respective directions. Stuck in bed, thank you for your question. Do elephants get ear infection for swimming in water? No, elephants don't get ear infection because they have a temporal gland that comes from their ear, which is always protects their ear, which always washes away the dust and whatever that might get into the ear. So more often at times you find that there's that gland that they emit there, which is very much to clean them. So I would say they don't get ear infections. Also in the eye, they have a third eyelid. They also have very long eyelashes. So the eyelashes protect them from eye injuries, especially when they're walking through bushes, when there's dust, so it prevents the eye from getting dust. And the third eyelid also helps with the same protect the eye from the dust, and also when they're walking through bushes, and sometimes also when getting in the water. So they are very well protected on those senses, ear and eyes. I'm going to carry on to see what else I'll find while I take you over to another live location.
Well, from elephants to hippos. And here I have one displaced hippo. I don't know if that is the right word to use on him, because at the moment I think I'm the one who's displaced, because there is water everywhere. And he has decided to find a spot almost in the middle of the road. He was lying and he really surprised me. Just woke up, and this is the part of the swamp. And right now it's water everywhere. Looks like the Okavango. If you've ever been there, there's water everywhere. I was there a few years back and it looked like this. Water, water, water everywhere. This guy is out in the open. I don't blame him. There is enough places for him to hide anytime he wishes. Hippos spend a lot of their time in water. And over here, they have many choices now to choose where they can be, because water is in plentiful. Their skin is not 100% developed. And so they need to keep it moist. I was checking on him with that behavior of raising the head. If he turns around, believe me, I'll be out of here very, very fast. This is an animal that I've earned a lot of respect during my years of walking out in the bush, because they're very fast and they won't hesitate to come for you if they feel like. They're huge canines. Actually makes them very intimidating, very scary. I don't know what he's thinking. Definitely he's a male. You rarely come across females out in the open like this. Mostly it is, males. I thought he had an injury, but no, he's okay. Usually they'll try and find a new spot amongst the waters. Okay, he's turned around now. Look at that. It's just beautiful. And they hope to lure some females at night to their new spot and hope to start a new pod. Competition can be very, very high when the population increase, and it has been increasing, and particularly if the males have been born, many of them, so it increases competition, and situations like this occur where they get pushed out to go and start their own colonies, or they've been bitten, they have wounds, they want to heal them, so they come places like this where there's less fish and also less stress. I'll let you enjoy just the little bit of ambience that I have around here. There's water, there's a few birds apart from the hippo walking. How beautiful is that? What you saw to the right is the road where I normally drive. That is my road. And now I just need a canoe. and I'll be doing a game drive on a canoe now. Yeah, looks like he has found a spot, or he's finding a spot. He must be very, very happy to have many choices to spend his day, unlike the hippos down at the river. When the current is very high, they become very stressed, and it's actually very annoying because a tree could be brought down, a rock, so they're actually very stressed, and also they don't like strong currents, so sometimes they find shallow waters, tributaries to the river, and that's how sometimes they end up out in the open, making them very dangerous because they appear without notice. Well, he's still trying to find a spot. See how deep it is? Yeah, quite deep. To the right there, I think it's Egyptian geese, and they're cleaning themselves. Must be very, very happy. There's going to be a lot of algae and other creatures in the water for them to feed on. Did he find a spot? Oh, look how deep it is. Definitely you'll not make it there, a human. Remember, he weighs up to 2 tons, so he can easily wade through this kind of waters easily without no problem. He's gonna check me again, or maybe he's decided that's the spot. And noodles, he can't believe that those stumpy legs can hold that weight. Well, believe me, they are very, very thick bones. Maybe one day I'll find one, a skeleton, and I'll share the bones, the size of the bones. They're so thick and short, I think making them efficient enough to hold that weight. I think he has thought of that spot to be nice because he has turned. Look at that. That is my spot, he's decided. And he likes it when the fresh water hits him. Interesting. Yeah, that's how quickly, a big animal like that can hide itself. And making it so dangerous. Look at that. Yeah, I think he likes that spot. Definitely he does. Yeah, I'm glad I got to share, I'm glad you really got to see him walking out and then disappearing into that water, because you would not believe me if I told you, it's a fully grown hippo. That is the kind of situation we have here. I have to turn here and head another direction because I don't want to drown. So let's take you to another live location.
Welcome back to andBeyond and Ngala, everybody. So it turns out that this Ross male actually fooled us a little bit. So we went around to where those zebras were in that clearing looking for him. And he had actually changed direction. So we came back to the last place that we saw him and kind of spent a little bit of time moving around. And actually Sebastian spotted him. And he was lying here in the riverbed. Absolutely stunning morning. And, he's just lifted his head. And he's got such a beautiful golden mane. So this is the paler of the 2 Ross males. One of the fathers of the Birmingham Pride cubs. And he was calling earlier, so I think he's looking for his brother or the rest of the Pride. But he's looking nice and relaxed in the riverbed this morning. Absolutely stunning light for him. Especially having such a blonde mane. the last time I saw him, he had a massive belly. They'd definitely eaten something. He's looking a bit more comfortable now. And it's actually quite interesting to see that him and his brother have split again, because the last time I saw him, he was practicing dominance over his brother, a bit of almost a mating display to show a bit of power over his brother. And in fact, he's normally the less dominant of the two, so it's interesting to see that they've split again. Maybe they had a bit of a fight. So we're going to sit here with him in this stunning morning light and see what happens.
Yeah. What have you sort of felt with seeing these guys evolve or develop over the last 8 years? Yeah, they're all going to come. Check Corky's little one. So, how's being the smallest is very often.
We managed finally, thanks to Marcel, to get our earpiece sorted. I've got a brand new one. I'm a lucky, lucky girl today. Everyone had a good laugh, but now at least we're back in action, and the cubs have slowed down a little bit at the den entrance, and here's Comet taking it easy. We also had a visit from Ndebele. That's Swazi's sister, one of Pretty's cubs. Well, no longer a cub, really. Almost an adult, though she is. But she's moved off, and she's actually looking quite thin. Now these guys are lounging. I suspect that Ribbons 2 are not here. Not just that they're in the den, I suspect that they're not here because they are so full of beans they would have been out and playing around. Look at them. Everyone's just enjoying the very beautiful morning, including us. Comet's got a bit of blood on his face, and his belly looks really nice and full. Look at that. You can hear the lovely birds. Just enjoy the den and the few moments of silence. And immerse yourself. Isn't it just peaceful? A leopard lover. You say they always seem to bring the hyenas out. Are they my spirit animal? Perhaps. I can't pick. Don't ever ask me to pick a favorite or to pick. I'm very bad at decisions. Especially ones that involve picking from all the animals in the world. How could I? I think, though, leopard lover. Chameleon is close. But hyenas also definitely. I love hyenas. Underappreciated animals. so intelligent. You've heard this story so many times. It's also one of those animals that you spend time with and you get to know, you get a feeling for them. Much like when I said to you, when you spend time with elephants, even though they're not speaking to you, somehow you feel that you're having a conversation. With hyenas, I feel a little bit in the same way, not as intensely as with elephants, but I do feel the same way. Definitely some recognition that goes on. Once upon a time, I had a mullet with a mohawk. It sounds very dramatic, but it was subtle. A subtle mullet and a subtle mohawk. Perhaps then the hyena was my spirit animal. Michelle is shaking his head. It was a different time, Michelle. I hope that the viewer, lions ate my mum. I hope that you're watching, because as soon as my earpiece got bitten, I thought, oh, if I was a viewer, I'd call myself hyena ate my earpiece. Hope you found it as funny as I did. I found it very funny. Everything is super chilled. Don't you like it? I certainly do. We'll see if we can get around. They've all moved to some bushes now. We'll get around and get a nice view. Oh no, don't go anywhere, Comet. Right, well, we can hopefully be able to stick around here.
Well, from hyena to another carnivore here, I have the silver-backed or the black-backed jackal. This is a family that has given us a very good time of their humble beginnings, especially the puppies. Originally there were 4, then there were 3, and now there are 2. And now here we have the 2 adults and the 2 remaining puppies. I hadn't seen them for almost a week. After one of their own passed away under mysterious circumstances. I don't know what really got him. We lost them, and I think they panicked and moved away from this area, but they have come back. You can definitely tell that the one to the right is the puppy, and one of the adults. One of the adults here, you can see the colors are very different, but the puppies are almost adults now. They're almost about 4 months. And soon, at the age of about 6, they'll start following their parents to forage. They feed on carrion, or they do scavenge. They feed on berries, small insects, even rodents are very, very welcome. One thing about them is they carry disease. Jackals, they carry, rabies. They're one of the biggest carriers. Although I don't think all of them have got rabies, because over here we don't have it. And they do hunt. They're very efficient hunters. They pair for life, and they can be very, very vocal. For defense, they're very, very fast, and they can turn at very sharp angles. They can dodge, their prey by darting and dodging. And young ones are always left at home, and adults go bring back food. They regurgitate it. Sometimes if it's big and they're very close to the den, they will bring it whole, and so the young ones can enjoy it. For protection for the young ones, they have dens that they move them every about 1 month. Over here we've picked up about 3. Luckily all of them are very close to the road, so we are able to share them with you. And they do come out like this and sun. And wherever there is danger, they can quickly run to the nearest den for defense. At the moment, most animals that burrow, I don't think they're having a very good time because of all this rain. Must be very, very wet. And they're spending a lot of the time outside. Some of them, will go inside and try and push out all that mud, exposing dry ground so that they can rest. But some of them will just wait until it's dry. Those big ears allow them to detect danger, and also their sense of smell is so good. They can pick up danger. Also, they can pick up food from long distances, allowing them and giving them enough time to get away from any danger. They weigh about 5 to 10 kilos, adults, and they have a gestation period of about 3 months. About 6 are born in a burrow or a very hidden spot. Usually they have closed eyes, but they open them from 7 to 14 days, and they are milk dependent up to the age of around almost a month and a half when they start eating solids. And after that, the parents can go out and bring back food. They can quickly disappear in the long grass like that. You can see how their ears move around like a radar, picking up any slightest noise. And don't mistake them to be killing only small rodents and scavenging. They can also be a very efficient hunters. If they are pushed, they will hunt. I have witnessed many times where they join hands and just go for antelopes like impala, young ones, and even fully grown ones. What do we have here? Yes, we have wattled lapwing, and the other guy farthest there, I'd say he's one of the pipits, grassland pipit. Yeah, you can tell the lapwing is enjoying the morning sun, removing ectoparasites from the skin and also lining the feathers. They get too heavy when they have accumulated lots of water from the rain, making them very hard to use to fly, and they can be very vulnerable. So the morning sun like this is very welcome to dry them, so makes it easy to fly. They pair for life, so definitely the other one is not very far, or maybe he's sitting on eggs. Birds are some of the most amazing creatures. They have commitments, and no matter how heavy the rain is, I've seen even, snowing, some, birds who live in the snow, sitting on their eggs as much as the snow lasts. So when it's raining, a committed, lapwing will sit on those eggs as much as possible until the rain is over. It's like they have to hatch all the eggs, guaranteed. Yeah, definitely that one to the right is a grassland pipit. You can tell by its movement. It runs, stops, and then it wags its tail slightly. Typical behavior of a grassland pipit. When it stops, you'll see that. It will bob the tail. Can you move again for us? Let's see. Or maybe I will confirm with my binoculars. Here he flies. Yes, it was a grassland pipit. Miken, did you say funny? Well, I don't know. I don't know why you say that. I think they're very cute. They have these wattles that hang in front of their beaks. They resemble, a beard, but they're farther up towards, the end of the beak, and they hang down. And during breeding, they can actually be longer and bright yellow. I think they do attract the females because the males does have them. I'm gonna try and get closer. So maybe you can see those wattles. I don't know if he'll wait for us or he's dry enough to just take off. Okay, let's see. Okay, I think he's waiting. Okay, let's see. Looks like this one is very well behaved. Let's see the wattles. Yeah, you might see them, yes. There they are, look at that. See the wattles? So definitely it's not breeding. When those wattles are just short, they get much longer, and when they're actually breeding, they can be very, very noisy. Look at that. I think it's very cute, this bird. But it's funny how those wattles grow at the end of the beak. Those long legs help it wade through shallow waters to pick up little creatures in the waters, like water boatmen and other small insects, like mosquitoes or mosquito larvae. All those, it does pick them. Really cleaning, look at that. Yeah. Definitely it is taking advantage of the wetness to take care of whatever has been extracted by, the moisture from the water. Okay, I'm gonna move on. While I do that, let's take you to another live location.
Welcome back to andBeyond and Ngala, everybody. We are still sitting here with the Ross male. He's just put his head down and decided to have a bit of a nap. And thinking back to TRISHALA earlier, talking about her spirit animal, I think on some mornings, I think a male lion might be my spirit animal when they're just so lazy and don't want to do anything. Definitely some mornings, but I don't think all the time, just, particular mornings. But quite incredible. And actually thinking about how wet it is in the Mara at the moment, it's quite a drastic contrast to here as well, because you can see how dry the sand is where he's lying. And the whole riverbed is dry. It's been dry for months. In fact, it hasn't flowed fully in years. It's the Timbavati riverbed. And it usually only flows if there's a very high amount of rain in a very short amount of time. So maybe over 100 mils in 2 days or 3 days. And then even, with that, it doesn't flow consistently across the whole reserve. It'll flow in particular sections. So it's actually quite stunning to be sitting here, because as much as he's relaxing and he's having a nice snooze, we've got a lot of sounds around us. We can see beautiful scenery. And actually, if you have a listen, you can hear a whole lot of different bird species that are still doing their dawn chorus. Crested francolins, doves, could hear a fork-tailed drongo just now. There's a Burchell starling in the background. Absolutely stunning. So even though he looks like he is dead asleep, completely flat, he's very likely actually awake and aware of the bird calls around him. because any change in the bird calls might mean that there's another lion coming, or maybe even a hyena. Just things that he wants to be aware of. Potential threats. I think one of my favorite things about this particular male, he's already around 8 years old, so his mane actually should be a little bit darker, but I actually really enjoy that he is so blonde. He's so pale. I think it's absolutely stunning, especially when you look at him in this light. It really brings that beautiful golden red glow. One of the things that I really appreciate about this male as well, though, is the way that he in particular walks with those massive paws that you can see on his front legs. The way that he walks, every time he's about to place his paw on the ground, his paw gives like a little wobble and shake, and as he puts it down, it almost looks like it's vibrating. He's got incredibly loose joints in his paws. And I love watching him walk with those paws. But he does look incredibly nice and relaxed. I think this morning I wouldn't mind being a male lion sleeping in the riverbed in the sun with all these beautiful sounds. We'll stay with him for a while longer and see, maybe he might lift his head a bit later.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. Have a look at how these lions have all moved just a little bit, getting into the shade of this ridge, trying to escape the sun. See that lioness on the right there, how she's busy cleaning herself, busy grooming, licking her paws. And for the time being lying right out in the sunlight. But I'm sure that she will, just like the cubs, move into the shade eventually once that sun gets a bit too intense. Now, you might notice that see how she keeps looking up, off to the left, up the hill. That is where the second lioness has gone, the other mother of these cubs. And that's also where the third lioness is. Remember earlier I said that she was lying away from the rest of these of the pride, from the mothers and the two cubs. Look, she's getting up. Let's see what she does now. Let's see if she goes up that hill. No, not up the hill. Just moving to get into the shade. So, based on the last couple of weeks' observations of these two lionesses, the two mothers of the cubs, with the other lionesses of their pride, they've been quite hostile, like I was saying earlier. And so when the second lioness, or the second mother, moved up the hill to go towards that third lioness, we were expecting fireworks, expecting growls, and hostile interactions. But that wasn't the case. There was actually quite a friendly greeting where the lionesses were rubbing heads and smelling each other. So good to know that the pride hasn't, broken up completely. It's, I think, more just a case of this third lioness that's been joining, or that has joined the rest of the pride for the morning. Just a case of her being pregnant and starting to look for a spot to den to give birth. It's maybe why she's spending more time away. But good to see that there isn't any hostile interactions between them. So they are still a functional unit. Oh, we got all excited when we started seeing the cubs moving and getting up and starting to walk, hoping that they were going to go maybe play on the rocks above them, chase each other around, maybe go pester their mothers to get up and go and look for food. But it's not looking likely anymore. So they're all lying flat once again. But interesting to see, having a look through all these different cubs here. And 1, 2, 3, 4 of them are lying with their bellies facing towards us. Have a look at how there's all kind of varying degrees of fullness to those tummies. So it seems like some of the cubs have eaten, but some haven't. And some of them even have that noticeable, well, quite a noticeable line running down their tummy, extending from kind of between their front legs to between their back legs. Now, I'm sure many of you have seen on a lion before, especially a lion that's empty-bellied, how there's that flap of skin that hangs along, or that runs along the bottom of the belly. And of course, when they're full, when they eat a big amount of meat, how that belly expands, and then that slack or loose skin is then taken up in the expansion of the belly as they fill their tummies with food. But those lines are showing on a couple of these cubs, meaning that they haven't had a good meal in some time. And like I said earlier, the lionesses, it was tough to tell, but it didn't look like they'd really have had, if they have eaten something, it's very small that they've eaten. So they will be needing to get food soon. Yeah, just having a closer look, it looks like it's at least two of the cubs. That line running down their belly is quite pronounced. And I wonder if it's not related to, I don't know if any of the other guides from Phinda have been telling you about what's happened with this particular pride of lions in the last couple of weeks. But recently, there were two intruding male lions that came into their territory, the two dominant male lions from the far north of our reserve. They ventured very far south into the core territory of this pride of lions. And these are males that, to our knowledge, these lionesses have never met before. They're certainly not the dominant males that move with this pride of lions. And pretty shortly after those two males were seen, these lions disappeared. They vanished. We couldn't find them. We found tracks of them running all over the place. And when we eventually did find them again, there were only two cubs with the lionesses. And so we feared the worst. Of course, new male lions entering a territory, if they find other lions, they find cubs that aren't theirs, they'll often kill the cubs with the intention of then causing the lionesses to come back into estrus so that they can then mate with them and father offspring and spread their genes. So we were convinced that these two new males, or these two intruding males, had killed the cubs in an attempt to try and take over this pride. But over the last couple of days, we've been seeing one by one, the lionesses have been managing to find their cubs again. And now all 5 cubs are back together. So, big sigh of relief. But it took quite some time. So initially there were just 2 cubs, and then a day later there were 3, and a day later there were 4. And then it's taken about 2 days since then for that 5th one to pop up. It's a shame, probably lost, wandering around, or perhaps it even managed to find a safe spot, a spot that it knew that its mothers would come back to eventually, and it just waited there. But I think as the sun climbs, these lions are going to find themselves having to move again to get better shade, and when that happens, it might be quite interesting to see what they get up to and what they do. So Craig and I are going to spend a bit longer here.
Get up and I wouldn't say walk, but I would say waddle. She waddled off behind Mum, and unfortunately we can no longer see her anymore. On this beautiful, glorious day here in Djuma Game Reserve. My name is Lauren, and I do have a cat on camera today. And I don't know whether it's worth sitting here. We need our Olivia to become a little bit habituated. She's a little bit nervous when the vehicle comes. And interestingly enough, I don't think Michael will be offended if I share this with you, but we've been in a very interesting discussion because, now you know we come here every day, or at least I do, and Michael sent me some screenshots of the parent that was sitting with our Olivia one day, and then I will come back to that story a little bit later.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. Our lions haven't moved too much. Oh, just as I said that, the old lioness getting up there a little bit. And look at how the cubs... Never mind, that was maybe a bit ambitious with my statement that she was maybe going to get up and move. But see how when she moved, just that slight changing of her body posture, how it got the attention of that one cub there, who was asleep, but he heard Mom moving, and he's rolled over to have a look at her to see what she's going to do. Are you going to get up, Mum? Are you going to go find food for us? Are you going to let me come and suckle? Shame for these little lion cubs growing as quickly as they are. Any opportunity to get any kind of food, any kind of sustenance, they'll take it. But see how all the youngsters are lying flat. Pretty comfortable. And all with their eyes closed, fast asleep. That lioness, she's lying almost in like a sphinx position. That doesn't look terribly comfy, so I wouldn't be surprised if she maybe gets up. See again how she keeps looking up to the top of the rise to our left here, where the other two lionesses are. Wouldn't be surprised if she gets up and then goes and joins those two. But I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon now. Looking at her, she's closed her eyes again. Just having a look through my binoculars. Have a look at her face, everybody, now that she's turned so that we can see the side profile. Look at the scars on her face. There's a big scar just next to her ear. Quite an old scar though. Looks like it's healed over quite well already. And then also just behind her whiskers. Can you see there's a big round hole with all that grey scar tissue there. Another scar that looks, no, not too bad, but probably when it was fresh would have probably been a pretty big wound. Probably quite a painful wound too. Of course, those whiskers being super sensitive, lots of nerve endings around there. So getting a claw dug into your face, must have been very painful. Perhaps in a fight over a carcass, or perhaps in a fight with another lioness. But again, back to lying flat on her belly. So again, Craig and I will be left to play the waiting game, hoping for these lions to get up and move up onto the ridge to join the other two lionesses.
We have a very naughty blue-eared starling interrupting Missy's work here. I wouldn't do that if I was you, starling. He jumped right onto the nest. Now, just to continue what I was saying, I don't think Michael will mind me sharing this with you, but we've been discussing a very, very interesting topic, and I haven't seen it until now. We come here every day, and there's an adult most days with Olivia. Now, I've been sent a few screenshots of the adult I had one day. I honestly can't remember the day. I apologise. They all blend into one out here in the wild. And then the adult that was sitting there just the other day, either yesterday or the day before. And the adults do appear to be different. Of course, this, I believe, is Mom. I wonder if one day we came here and Dad was sitting on the nest. Now, are you collecting the feathers? Oh, Starling, what are you going to do with all these lovely feathers? Recycling, or should I say upcycling at its best in nature. But yes, if any of you have any thoughts, please share them with me. I've got the screenshots, but if you have some screenshots of your own, have a look. And I think Michael could be right. Now, I can't confirm this because, of course, when the adult is sitting in a different position, it makes it a little bit difficult. I've never ID'd an owl individually before, species-wise, of course. But it does look like, on different occasions, there was a different adult there. Now, I really do think this is a female, but I think one day when I came, female wasn't here and male was here. Maybe there was a threat in the vicinity. Maybe there was another raptor in the area. There was a snake. There was alarm calls. There was a monitor lizard. I don't know. And I wonder if the male, Papawig, came down to protect Olivia. Now, I can't say anything conclusively, but it's just a theory. And looking at the screenshots, I think Michael Fleetwood could be right. Which is actually really fascinating because I never thought of that before. So I think we need to start collecting screenshots of the adults and actually really coming up with key identification features to identify the male and to identify the female. Now, from the screenshots I have, the only sort of way I can describe it, there's a real difference in the forehead, if you like, in between the eyes. The female always looks like she's smiling. She has a much gentler, relaxed face. And the other screenshot of the other individual has a more grumpy appearance, shall we say. And that section in the forehead between the eyes is very different. I could be wrong, but I think we might be onto something here, which is really interesting because this development of the story that we have here with the Wig family is new for us all. I think we're all learning more and more about spotted eagle owls than we ever thought was possible. So Olivia is hiding, unfortunately, but I think we need to start collecting screenshots of the adults too, as well as Olivia. I think this is a female. I think she's a little bit whiter than the male. I think you gave the wrong comms there, Mel. But yeah, so I think we are going to leave Missy's wig alone for a little while and come back later and hopefully get some views of Olivia. She's looking big. She's starting to get the barring on the feathers. She's standing for sure and waddling from one part of the nest to the other. But she got a little bit of a fright. I'm not sure if it was us or other birds in the area, and she went behind Mom there. Or who I at least think is Mom. So we're going to go for a bumble, but I do think we will be back a little bit later.
Welcome to the Mara, where we have a giraffe feeding, and it's always very nice to see them feeding because there's a difference between feeding behavior between bulls and cows. Giraffe bulls will always feed on a full stretch. Look at how he's stretching over to get the leaves on that balanite tree or the desert date. Very nice. And the silhouette color is actually coming very nice. The females will always feed bending low a little bit, but the bulls always have that full stretch. An advantage that they have feeding on very top leaves, they get the fresh foliage, which are more nutritious up high. Look at that. Oh, you missed out. There you go. Nice. And bulls are always taller than females, and you find that they have that advantage of feeding in such a manner.
Lovely elephants.
Oh, look at that. Our giraffe is still feeding on that balanite tree, and you can see he's very much enjoying. Now he's moved over to the left. Seems like the rains have brought new leaves there. They always prefer the fresh sprout that pop up after the rains. Sometimes you can see them also nibbling on the grass after the rains. Despite always sometimes looking at the genitalia, you can tell a bull from a cow by looking at the posture. So dominant bull always walk in a very up straight manner, showing their dominance because they're not territorial, so they walk from home range to home ranges, and they mix up with females and young bulls and females, and in such a way they always have that dominance display. It's a feeding morning. You can see the female there feeding. So that is the difference between the two. You can see the female always have that bending posture when they're going for forage, while the bulls always prefer the full stretch. So showing the difference in behavior while feeding. That tree is preferred by elephants and giraffes, and sometimes also baboons and monkeys when eat fruits. They're very nice, hard fruits. So when they're small, the baboons will always prefer coming to feed. Always got something there. They're very selective feeders in such a way that these trees also have thorns, and sometimes they can also eat on acacia. So the thorns will always be spit out. They always prefer the fresh foliage, and then whatever they don't like will be dropped down. So all the trees that we see across this savanna, Jenny, do I think it's a mating pair? It's not a mating pair, generally, because if it's a mating pair, what we'll always see, it's where the male will always be courting the female, walking side by side. So this is just normal feeding behavior, where you see the male on the side and the female on the other side. So normally when a female will be in estrus, you'll find the male always following, sniffing the genital area and forming the phlegm and grimace, where the Jacob's organ will analyze the condition of the female if she's ready to mate, and then also the courting behavior, where he will always be following in such a manner that he wants to mount her. So this is not a mating pair. There's also some other giraffes in the background. The reason why they're spread out, it's because of the rains. They've brought new fresh foliage for them. seems like that tree has lots of nutritious leaves for this bull. And after he's had enough from that bush or that tree, he'll walk off to another one. You can see he's still carrying a piece of branch there. You can see how he's walking in a posture where he's on full stretch. Is that too tall for you, or you can reach out? Yes. They also have that assistance from their tongue. Look at that tongue, how long the tongue is. Grabbing the leaves. And the oxpeckers are still doing their daily job, grooming and cleaning the bark. See, they are all lined up on his mane. While this giraffe is entertaining us with his feeding behavior on a full stretch, let me take you over to another live location.
Well, from giraffe to my beautiful scene here that I could not resist sharing with you. What do you think of that? It is a very clear day, as you can see, and I have one huge herd of elephant, not the one from before. This one is a different one, and lots of liliphants and elephants. It's just beautiful. And that's how quiet it is. Over here, the air is crisp, is very fresh. Yeah, lots of birds singing, from sisticolas, wagtails. It's a bit hazy down there, but it's gonna clear as it warms up. All the grazers must love this because, yes, well, after the wildebeest left and the zebra, they left a lot of fertilizer. And that is one of the importance of the wildebeest when they pass through these plains. All their droppings that looks very yucky and bad at the beginning get dry and then get rained on, becomes manure, and when the rain drops, now you get a very fresh grass, and this is what the elephants are enjoying. So every bit of animal here has got an importance and plays a very big role in making these plains, healthy for everyday use. These elephants definitely are here because they know that the grass is rich, the grass is healthy, and that's why they are here this morning enjoying it. Remember, we are live. We're coming from the Mara Triangle in East Africa, in Kenya. Jolly Whiskey, you say the elephants make the acacia iconic tree? I actually didn't get the whole, let's see, continuation of the sentence, but I'll maybe talk. Oh, thank you very much. Do elephants give the trees the iconic shape? Yes. Yes. They play a very big role in making sure that those branches that hang downwards are reeded, and they only leave those ones that they not get a reach or they cannot get hold of, leaving that iconic shape. Together with the giraffe, they do that. They do the underbrows, what we call it, making sure that there's no hanging branches, giving that umbrella shape. And this is the balanite. It is not the acacia. This part of the Mara, it is the dominant tree. It's not very good for acacia here, but if you go to northern side of the Mara, some few conservancies like Mara North, Lemek, all those are full of acacias. Also, the eastern side, Naboisha, Olkinyei, those conservancies, they're full of acacia. For some reason, the soil is different, slightly different. Here is pure clay. Over there is sandy clay, and they love that kind of soil. So you find acacias over there. Mind you, not all acacias they don't get to become umbrella shape like what you see. Some of them are very shrubby, like, acacia kiki and others like Gerard's acacia. They don't get as flat top like other acacias. But if you get the umbrella acacia, which is the tortilis, does get a very, very flat top. So they differ from acacia. These are Balanites aegyptica, and the elephants do play a big role in shaping them. This herd has discussed something and looks like they're splitting now. I don't know if you can see that. There's one big herd and there's a smaller one. It's amazing, and I've always seen this. They do communicate and talk, and sometimes they split. In times of plenty, we do see them coming together, and it's a time like now where we have experienced more than 150 to 200 herds, together. They come to utilize the highly nutritious grass available everywhere. Well, it's just a beautiful sight to see. And what the best thing I can do is to leave you to enjoy it a little bit while we take you to another live location.
There's, if they've brought something back, because they're looking, then at least I know, because I don't think it was a leopard. I saw nothing. We are now here at Treehouse Dam. And we have a head of mongoose. Now we have a full mongoose. Hello, dwarf mongoose. We saw some of them, or at least one of them, going down to the water, to the dam. And I thought, oh, this is it. This is the moment we're going to finally see a dwarf mongoose drink. But alas, it was just foraging. With its buddy here, keeping an eye out for it. So we were pulled away from the den for two reasons. Sorry about that, guys. Make Game Drive Radio. For two reasons. One is that Comet left, but Comet seemed to have heard the same things we did. We heard a bit of a commotion. There was a few alarm calls, a little bit of a bleat. And so we went to investigate, and we found a drag mark, but no leopard tracks. So perhaps we actually heard a hyena hunting, because there are lots of hyena tracks all around. So I'm going to just return it to the den now. So obviously we had to leave because Comet left. and because we heard those sounds. So I'm going to return now and just have a quick look. Maybe something was brought back to the den. Maybe there's some individuals that are extra bloody. It just helps us to close up in our head what has happened. Sometimes when it's open-ended, my curiosity gets the best of me. And I get a little bit obsessive. Not horribly obsessive. If you heard the shh in the background, it was just 2 Egyptian geese that had landed in Treehouse Dam. So our plan is, like I said, to swing back around to the den and see if anything is happening. The dwarf mongoose was very interested in my plan, obviously. I love the way they stare at us. Looks like we have some classes cuckoo. Theo, this is very cool. We hardly get to see them. Two of them. No, we hardly, like I said, we hardly ever get to have a good view of them. In fact, James and I had our best view of them. Oh no, still there. Best view of them near our room. I always let's have a look over the thing. I always mix up my classes and my Diedrich's cuckoo unless I hear them. Come on. Let's have a good look. I've just got my binos out. Come on, look at me. So what I'm looking for is a green patch that's going to come from the neck if it's a classes cuckoo, and the Diedrich's cuckoo doesn't have that patch. So I would conclude that these are Diedrich cuckoo, which is equally cool, might I add. And then we also have a red-billed oxpecker hanging about with them too. That's very cool. I quite like them because you hardly see that kind of green sheen in nature, especially not in, I want to say animals, but arthropods are also animals, but especially you might see them in insects, but not in other animals, that lovely green sheen. And when you see the Diedrich's or classes cuckoo, it's just, whoa, really awesome. They also have one of the most recognizable calls. Hopefully they'll call for us. And they'll go, dee 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 Diedrich. Let's just be quiet and have a bit of a listen, because maybe they'll do it for us. Also see above the eye is quite a broad white patch in the classes cuckoo. That white patch is smaller as well. The Egyptian geese are now competing with them. Oh, there's a fight. There's a fight. Forever providing us with entertainment. Lisa, you'd like to know what they're fighting about? That is a great question. There are about 5 of them all together. You know, I've seen them go at it often. Maybe one tried to mate with another one. Often in ducks and geese. The mating can be quite a brutal thing. I mean, they could have been fighting over their patch of water, who's mating with who. There's so many little things that they could be fighting about, and you can tell that they're loud, slightly, I mean, I don't know them personally, but would say obnoxious. Loud. There they go again. So something could just irritate them. And those types of animals, unfortunately. Not unfortunately, you have to have a bit of both, right? That's how you say, do you want a piece of me in bird? You put your arms out like that and you move your neck around. Okay, it's calmed down. We've only got one couple left. Right, I think we were, what do you call it when you stare at people fighting but you're not involved in the fight? There's a name for it. Onlooker. No, onlooker.
Stalker.
Something like that. I think we've done enough of that. Gawking. There we go. Enough gawking. Fight's over. Luckily, we didn't have to pull out our phones to record. We had Theo to do the honors for us. All right, let's go through to the hyena den. Although, you know, when things are happening, like alarm calls and that, you get a feeling, it's buzz, and I must say the buzz has settled. But let's just go to the hyena den and check it out.
Welcome back to andBeyond Ngala, everybody. We left the Ross male still flat sleeping in the riverbed, and we actually came along the bank looking for maybe any signs of a leopard. And this is just something that is incredibly unique for me. It's something that I'd never heard of, never ever seen before until I came here. And if you have a look in this tree on that small branch, you can see a hoof on the top left and some dark skin and even a bone sticking out on the right. And this is a buffalo's leg. And it was pulled up this tree by the Makoti male. So he's the young male that we often see here. And I know that a lot of our viewers have seen him before. And being so vulnerable when his mother died when he was 8 months old, he had to start making a plan. And so this was something that was incredibly unique. This buffalo leg has been here for probably 1.5 years at least. And what he did was he actually stole it from the Pride of Lions. They killed it, they were resting, and he stole it and came and brought it up the tree. And he somehow managed to knot it around that very tiny branch coming out to the right. But it's just so unusual to hear of a leopard eating a buffalo leg or even stealing it from the lions. And he really did have to make a plan when he was younger. So it's incredible to see that it's actually still here in this tree. And it's something that every time I drive past, I associate very, very strongly with just how unique it is. And Makoti male in particular, he's my favorite leopard. We probably shouldn't have favorites, but I just absolutely love him. Such a unique sighting, very, very special to see.
We've got Sabui in cubs, everyone. Sadly, we've just missed the beautiful views of one of the cubs. And she's on Little Gowrie, I'm afraid. So it's not going to be the best visuals. I am going to warn you, there's other vehicles. But what we're going to try and do is, okay, we're good here. Give you a view of Sabui and 2 cubs. Now, you will see vehicles, I'm afraid. But I have been waiting to catch up with Sabui in quite some time. Would you like me to go back a little bit more? Okay. So she must be about 30 meters off our southern boundary into Little Gowrie, which is why we can view. You're allowed to view from the boundary line. And one of the other cubs is just about to join. I don't know if it's Sasha or Langa. They've got names now because they're over 1 year old. But one's just coming back to join, and apparently they've got an impala bamba, which means an impala kill. I don't know if it's a sort of lamb or an adult, I'm not sure. But these gorgeous, spotty, full bodies belong to Sabui and her 2 cubs. 1 male, 1 female. Now, the female's Langa, and the male is Sasha, which means champion, winner. It's a great name. And Sabui is one of the females. It does cross into the southern section of Djuma, but not often. Her territory is sort of Chitwa, Little Gowrie, Hoffmans, and much further south. She borders Tandy. They've had clashes in the past. And we don't know the father of these cubs, but it's thought to be either Mulwati or Quarantine. I personally feel it's Mulwati. I think he's done a really good job of coming in and, well, fertilizing all the females, shall we say. Tandy, Shudulu, Luna, Sabui, Kuchava. Yes, I think Mulwati's been a very successful male in terms of sowing his wild seeds. Isn't this just lovely? I know it's not the best views, I am sorry everyone, but it's just too precious a sighting not to show you. I've been waiting to see Sabui for quite some time. Now, we're actually in the Mulwati, believe it or not, to give you some context, but the southern side of the Mulwati, the part that we're not able to drive, I'm afraid. It's just so lovely sometimes to see more than one leopard together, and because Sabui has one male and one female, most likely the female will be pushed to independence first. She'll leave mom, Sabui, first, and the male will hang on a little bit longer. And the average age is 18 months for a female, and in 2 years before a male leaves mom, sorry. And most of you will probably be wondering how old Sabui is. If you don't already know, she was born in December 2013, so she's 7. So it's just so precious to see leopards. They're territorial but solitary, but you do find interactions, especially in this area, happen a lot more often than one would think. So mother with cubs, Sabui's regularly seen with her cubs having lovely interactions. So mother and daughter or mother and son. Daughter and father, Tingana and Kalamba, are regularly seen. The other night I tried to show you Klangula and Luna, and they are not related, but they have been mating. And they are regularly interacting. So although they live a solitary life, holding territories, I do firmly believe that leopards interact a lot more than we realise. Doesn't mean they're not solitary, but I think there's interactions and sort of social things that we miss. Horse lover? I think that was a name there. You're saying your heart is melting. Mine too. And that's exactly why I had to show you this sighting. Although it's not the best visuals, you never know. They might feel thirsty. And the nearest watering hole is either Baboon Pan or Twin Dams. And it's really, really easy for us to view either of those. So I think it's worth to just sit tight and hopefully we'll get some better views. But my heart is melting too. There's something very special about seeing solitary animals all together, especially when there's lots and lots of spots, or should I say rosettes. And as I mentioned, Sabui does cross onto Djuma. It's just not often and it's not regularly. That's sort of the very northern end of her territory, if you like. We see boundary lines. We're sitting on the southern boundary, but generally speaking, leopards, oh look, leopards don't. So she will sort of weave in and out of our property where we can traverse. So we will try and sit tight here as long as we can, and hopefully we'll still have a visual.
So this heron is definitely not in the shade. It is standing in the full sun, which is quite strange because, you know, over there I would have thought that it would be easy to spot by something like a frog, which it just ate one just a moment ago. It caught a little frog standing on a log there, and it's just going to stand motionless for a while. Perhaps the frog was enough to sate its hunger for the time being. But this grey heron is just going to stand there, and I mean, they're opportunists. So if anything did turn up, something like a frog came hopping along, it would definitely go for it. In fact, a moment ago it flew from the left-hand or the western side of the dam all the way to the eastern side, and it flew directly over the geese family with their goslings, and the parent the adult geese sort of started making lots of noise, because this heron will definitely eat gosling chicks. It will have no problems swallowing one down. They're very much opportunists. They'll eat anything that they can that fits in their mouth. Frogs, fish, any lizards that are near the water's edge, bird chicks, just absolutely anything, even rodents if there's walking in the grassland adjacent to a waterhole. Just waiting to see if anything else turns up to Leopard Dam. It was a very, in Lower Dam. It was a very cool morning, nice and breezy, and starting to warm up nicely now. We've had a few elephants come down already this morning, and we've had a few other animals here and there. Just want to see what else might turn up now. There was a black-chested snake eagle that flew over earlier as well, which got all the birds riled up. Something we don't see too often. The heron wouldn't be too worried, though. It's quite a large bird. Much larger than the black-chested snake eagle anyway. So it will probably be able to defend itself. Robert, you are right. The legs are really thin to be sized. But this heron, if you were to pluck off all of its feathers, its body is incredibly slender. The neck is very thin. The wings are tiny. You remember all those feathers that make the wings look very massive? They're all very light. The part with the bones and the muscle structure is very small. And so the heron is not a very heavy bird. I'm not really sure how heavy this bird is, but it's probably not more than about 4 kilograms. Maybe even less than that. So the legs are probably the heaviest part of this whole bird, to be honest. I actually wonder, how heavy is a heron? I know that they're one of the smaller herons that we get. We get much larger ones. Not sure exactly how heavy is a grey heron. Let me just have a look. Look at that, it's super light. Oh my goodness, only 2 kilograms. This whole heron, if it's a male, is only weighing 2 kilograms. How crazy is that? It stands, almost a meter tall. So it's much lighter than the other. So there's some other larger herons and storks, and the very heaviest of the flying birds here in southern Africa is a Kori bustard, and that bird can weigh 13 kilograms. It's like 8 times, or 6 times heavier than this bird. Look how it moves very slowly. Do you see that? If it makes any sudden movements, it will definitely scare off the frogs that are around, so it has to move quite slowly and carefully so as not to alarm them. But you'll see when it does get its eye on something, it will sort of slowly lower its head, and then at the last second just dart its bill down, and will either spear the fish or the frog directly, or it will catch it in its bill and then proceed to usually slap them on the side of the tree branch to just knock them out, and wash them in a bit of water to clean them, and then they'll swallow them whole. They don't chew them or anything like that. The whole thing goes down. Sometimes you see them swallowing things that look way too big. I mean, I've seen them catch fish that are 4 times as wide as its neck. And they just sort of slowly slide down the neck, and you think that bird's definitely going to choke, but nope. It goes down, and then, I think a bird that only weighs 2 kilograms, if it catches something that big, it can probably just go and rest the rest of the day. They don't have to use a lot of energy. This one is certainly not using much energy. Everything in nature is all about, cost versus reward. Is it rewarding to move around a lot and catch lots of small things, or is it better just to wait and catch one big thing? It's like you've always got the birds and the animals and everything's always got to weigh up their options. So in the distance, I can see another giraffe approaching the water. It's not really approaching the water, but there's definitely a giraffe moving in the distance on the opposite side of the dam. A bit more to the left there, BK. A little bit more. Yeah, there it is. You can just see its head. There it comes. So it's on its way, probably down to the waterhole to drink eventually. It's still quite a ways off. There's a few more giraffes that were behind us a moment ago, but they seem to have gone behind the dam wall. It's amazing though, those white, shining white ears of the giraffe. You can spot them a mile away. I think that's how they are able to communicate with each other and find each other, because they're not social animals. We don't see them often together, but they do spend... Oh, why on earth are you running? It's just morning exercise. It doesn't look like it's running from something. It's just in a rush to get somewhere, I suppose. It's definitely not operating on the cost-reward system that I just spoke about. The heron still sitting there. Oh, the breeze is picking up again. It's so nice. You can see the water is starting to get a few ripples on it. And the temperature over the next few days is just going to rise and rise and rise. And so this breeze is definitely welcome. Such a peaceful morning. There's also an oxpecker that I can hear that's flying over. There it is, going to land on the dead tree above us. So oxpeckers are often a sign there could be some sort of large animal in the area, something like a buffalo. So we'll keep an eye on this oxpecker and see if it leads us to anything interesting and exciting this morning.
Yeah, after looking and looking and looking and looking and looking, we've come across these two lionesses from the River Pride, and also they have trespassed, and they are in Olololo Pride's territory. They must be lucky because I have seen where Olalashe was yesterday and also the girls, so there's nobody here, but they have trespassed. I think situations are becoming dire, and they're being forced to sneak into other lions' territories, and this is the case. It does happen, but they have to be very, very careful. If those girls from Olololo Pride find them, it could be fatal for one of them. This looks like the two that had cubs. I cannot tell very much if they're still suckling, but they are a very long way from where they gave birth and where David and Bungei used to see them, but it's nice to see them this far out. They look very hungry. They haven't eaten. Anything that might come their way would be in great danger. Warthogs, zebra, anything, they'll go for it. That's how quickly they appear and disappear. And in the long grass here, you'd, have to see them if you're very close. I'm going to try and see if I can find something else further down. But it was nice to see them out in the open. Something tells me that we might not be lucky with all the cubs that were born earlier this year, because I haven't seen them, and it's very, very worrying. Okay, we're gonna take you to another live location as I try and look for something else.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. Unfortunately, unlike the lions that Isaac was with up in the Masai Mara, our lions still have hardly moved. Although, if you've been keeping count, you will notice that there are now 7 lions once again in this mat of lions, if you will, in front of us, all lying down. The younger mother has joined up again. She's come down the slope from where she's been lying with that third lioness. And like I said earlier, I was quite surprised to see how affectionate the greeting was between the two lionesses, the younger mother and then the pregnant lioness. And it's, I suppose, because these two lionesses, I'm sure many of you will know, within a pride of lionesses, the lionesses are related. They're all sisters and aunts and mothers and granddaughters and daughters. And so this young lioness, the one that's facing with her belly towards us, she's the sister of the pregnant lioness. And obviously would have spent a lot of time together, so a very close bond. And even though they've been away for quite a while, or they've been apart for quite a while this pregnant lioness goes to look for a den site, evident that that bond is still very strong. So it was a very affectionate kind of greeting and lots of head rubbing. So lovely to see. But then what was interesting was to see when that pregnant lioness tried to follow her sister down to join up with the cubs and the older lioness. The older lioness saw her coming and immediately twisted herself around to lie with her head facing towards her and her back legs tucked up behind her in a very aggressive stance. There was no growling, there was no tail flicking, no ears being pressed back, no snarling, typical of lions that are really agitated, really aggressive. She didn't flick her tail, like I said, she didn't show her teeth or anything like that, but she turned to face towards her. It was quite an ominous little display. And shame, the pregnant lioness obviously immediately recognized what was going on, and so she turned around, and instead of coming to lie down with her sister, she went back up onto her little patch of rock to lie by herself. So yeah, shame. Obviously that, well, unfortunately, as I had prematurely said earlier, it seemed like she was welcome back with these lionesses, but it seems that it's this old lioness that is the reason that there's this tension. And like I said earlier, I think it's because of the fact that it's so many mouths to feed. If they do catch something, if she is successful in hunting, if she has to feed a third lioness off of the kill that she makes, or off of the kill that the three lionesses make together, it's more competition for her cubs for food. Very strange. I suppose only time will tell if, as these cubs get bigger, if that kind of hostility dies down. Viet, you're asking if there's a maximum number of lions that Phinda can hold, and Viet, yes, there is. Obviously, lions being a predator or being predators that eat a lot of animals, and that influence the landscape. Therefore, their movements and their presence can influence where animals move and how much time herbivorous animals spend in certain places. Their movements will influence the movements of other predators, like leopards, lions, not lions, but leopards, hyenas, and cheetah especially. With cheetah being a species that we pride ourselves in terms of our conservation of cheetah, we have to be very careful with the number of lions that are on the reserve. And so yes, there's definitely a maximum, and we're currently sitting at about that maximum in terms of the number of lions we have on the reserve. And what is I suppose more of a danger in terms of the conservation of cheetah is how many units of lions there are. So if there's only 3 prides and they all stay together, it's not really a problem, because then cheetah can just move to avoid those areas where the particular prides of lions are. But if prides of lions are fragmenting, if for example with young males when they disperse from their pride and move off to go in search of their own pride and become nomadic, then there's suddenly an extra unit of lions that's moving around. So there's less places for cheetah to move to, where they can avoid competition with the lions. And that's where things can get dangerous for cheetah. So Viet, we do have to keep a very careful eye on, or monitor our lion population very carefully, both from a conservation perspective. It seems like now, see how there's a bit of cloud cover that's currently blocking the sun out, and it's giving these lions a bit more time lying out on this open patch here. They're not having to go and move into a thicket to keep cool. And just looking at them, it does not look like they are going to get moving anytime soon. I was very hopeful at first that we would see them moving around and get to see the cubs playing. Very interesting to watch that lioness, or that interaction, the 2 different interactions, or the 2 different responses of these 2 lionesses to this third one. The one very welcoming and friendly, and the other quite hostile. But I don't think there's going to be too much more in the way of movement from these lions, at least not until the cloud cover burns off and the sun is really intense and they are forced to move into the shade somewhere. But perched up on our vantage point here, I've been looking through my binoculars down into the plains below us, and Been able to see some giraffe and some elephants off in the distance. And I'm sure that if we go looking, we'll be able to find maybe some rhinos or some buffalo. So I think Craig and I are going to leave these lions. It's been lovely to spend a bit of time with them this morning, but we're going to go see if we can find some other animals for you this morning.
Welcome back to the Mara, where I think we've come to a place where we call it the Topi Plains. This Topi Plains is always full of toppies. We can only see a few toppies around there. Thank you, Big James, that he's trying to pan to get a close-up look of those toppies. When you talk about topi, they like or prefer a place where there's adequate grass, there's no bushes, because they're plains animals, so they'd prefer a place where at least they can watch over for predators. I can see lots of calves there. It seems like that is like a nursery where adult females will come together to a place where they concentrate with their calves. Sometimes these calves will be left alone, unattended, and the mothers will walk out to go and graze and then come back. But in an open area where they know it's free of predators. They have very sharp eyes. When sometimes we're driving out here, we always watch over for like animals like topi or zebra, because once they start watching out, you know definitely there might be a predator.
Yes, I followed these lionesses. It was nice to try and examine them more. Looks very lean. Haven't eaten maybe 5 or more days. Body's still very okay. Look at her. She's in perfect condition. Definitely the River Pride lioness, from the direction she came in from, wants to go to that high spot where you can see farther from where she was, and there she sits, and I can't see her face anymore. You know, situations have become slightly difficult for these predators, although they know how to survive. When the wildebeest and zebra are gone, they know how to do it. You will find that they're far away from male lions, because male lions tend to dominate and take kills off them every time they kill, and especially if they're small. So best thing to do for them is to stay away from the males, and this is why they're quite far away. If you remember, these are the 2 girls that snuck away with Fang when they had a little bit of a fight with Olalashe and Kijana out in the plains. These are the girls that snuck away. I don't see Fang anywhere. I don't know his whereabouts. I haven't heard any word about him. I hope he's well. I hope he has recovered from the few slaps he received, and I hope he's doing very well. It is not easy being a lion out here in the plains. When the grass grows tall, all grazers leave it and go to high grounds where it's dry and also they can see far. staying here when it's wet like this, you would get foot rot, a disease that affects the hooves, and so it is very difficult to run away or get away from any predator. Also, it's easy to be stalked, so they leave the plains, go to higher grounds. Becomes very tough for this apex predator. And that's why eventually you will find them coming together, all the lions in a pride, being about maybe 6, 7, or 8 or 10. It's much easier to bring down a bigger animal or a larger animal. So they will be forced to call one another and go for large prey, because it's the only thing that's available right now. There's plenty of buffalo, sorry to say, but also there is giraffe. They are very tough to bring down, but a big pride can easily bring down one. Mind you, they can kick with both hind and forequarters, giraffes, so the lions have to be very careful also. So it's not always easy for a predator out here in the plains. It's very, very tough. And I always remind everybody that amongst most predators, lion has got the toughest life out here. Everybody's always on the lookout for them because they know they'll be eaten. They're always watching their back. They're always warning everybody. So it's very difficult for lions. And when they rest like this after a good meal, it is well deserved. It's nice and warm right now, and I'm sure he's enjoying that sun. Remember, this is live. It's coming from the Masai Mara, the Mara Triangle. That's where we are. Talk to us on hashtag WildEarth. Questions and comments are still welcome. In one sitting, a fully grown lioness would consume up to around 20 to 60 pounds of meat. And that can take her up to around 4 to 7 days. In case there's a chance, lionesses will feed every day. Lions will feed every day. They will nibble every couple of hours. They accumulate lots of fat, get big, give them a rest when there is nothing to feed on. They can use that excess fat to keep them going until they get something. These girls look very relaxed, although they're in somebody else's territory. And it's very, very dangerous. This is the area where 2 years ago there was a big fight between the Olololos and the River Pride, and a few cubs were killed. That's where I am. And looks like they're very okay by the looks, by where they look. I'm gonna stay here for a little bit longer, and let's take you to another location.
Now we're still sitting here with two of them. One of them is full of beans, and we are about to get bombed by a car. Everyone, not ideal timing, so just bear with us. The kill's up in the tree, and it looks like an adult-sized impala. So we'll just let this car go past, and hopefully we'll still have a view. Let's wait and see. I know it's a long distance visual, but it's so nice to see at least 10% of one of the cubs. Yes, the car's positioned perfectly, so we've still got a view. And And of course, the cubs will well and truly be hunting now, but they still spend a lot of time with mom at this stage. And taking down a impala lamb is not going to get very far between three very hungry mouths. So I think this is an adult impala from what I can see. And these cubs are actually over a year now. They were born in August 2019. So that makes them a year and 3 months. So very, very shortly, in just a few months' time, the daughter will start to spend less and less time with the family unit, if you like, and she'll sort of be pushed to independence. This is so lovely. I think everybody's excited when they know Sabi and cubs are around. Kuchava's got a cub, male. Tandi's got a boy. Ikanyeni's got a cub. Sabui's got 2 cubs. And of course, Shidulu is believed to still have a little cub, but it's very young. It's very, very young. Tyler, leopards are solitary, so they live alone. You will only really find leopards together. I just touched on this earlier, when it's a mother and cubs or when it's a mating pair. Now here in the sands we have such a high density of leopards, really, and most of them, except Mulwati, are very habituated, which means we can spend time with them, and the more time we can spend with them, the more we can learn. And from what we learn out here, they do interact. They just don't travel together in groups. They don't have clans or packs or prides like lions. They're solitary. They're out here on their own, and that is their social structure. So here we're witnessing a small group of leopards, because it's a mother, Sabi, and 2 cubs. And the cubs are a year and 3 months. 3 or 4 months. So they're still with mother, but slowly but surely they're going to separate from mother, and they will begin their solitary existence. And the daughter, Langa, she will get a portion of her mother's territory. Normally the female territory is inherited from the mother, so everything will have to start shifting around, but like a mobile jigsaw puzzle. But the son, most likely, Sasha, he will disperse. Males disperse, and it's a biological, innate drive for them to leave their natal grounds. They're not philopatric because they have to go and A, set up their own territory. There's most likely no space here. And B, they need a new gene pool of ladies. If the male was to stay, he may end up mating with his sister or his relatives, and of course that's not good for the genetic integrity of the animal and the future offspring, and therefore he must move to ensure genetic integrity within his species. Now, leopards can mate with relatives. Tingana can mate with Klalamba. It's not impossible. It may actually happen. But they can only do this consecutively for about 3 generations before you really start to see a genetic impact. And again, I don't know who the father is. We need to collect the scat. We can analyze it. There's an organization called Panthera who analyzes the scat for DNA, and you can sort of say who the father is. You obviously know who the mother is. But my gut tells me it's Mulwati. Mr. Mulwati, very smooth, huh? You never see him. He moves in the dark, and yet he manages to spend time with all the ladies. Smooth operator. Now the kills here, which means they're going to be spending, I would imagine, all day today here at least. And at some point, I think they'll go for water. And that's really, really what we want, because we can view them perfectly. Little trio. Now, if leopards did have a sort of bigger social structure, Tyler, and if they did have a pride, they would be in direct competition with lions and it would make them more obvious. Leopards rely on camouflage. Look at their sort of coats. They rely on being stealthy and sneaky and quiet. They're not loud like lions. They're very, very quiet. Yes, they saw to advertise their territory, but being alone out here means that you can just sort of move in and out across the landscape a little bit more silently. You don't want to attract any unnecessary attention. It's a really high density of leopards here. Lions, hyenas, and wild dogs. Yesterday we even had a cheetah up in Buffelshoek. But all the predators are here in particularly high densities. In a riverine system like this is a dry riverbed, the Mulwati, not the leopard, the actual river. And this is a perfect habitat for these leopards, the African leopard. There's 9 subspecies, remember, and they all have different geographical locations and different habitat preference. In India, you actually find a lot of leopards are moving to urban areas and you find them in the cities, which is slightly worrying. As gorgeous as they are, you don't want to run to your local takeaway to get some fish and chips and bump into a leopard. Okay, I'm going to try this. Dr. Octobong. What a fantastic name. I hope I got that right. It's entirely possible I didn't. And I don't know the answer to your question. It's just the pattern, the sort of coloration of a leopard's coat. It's more rosette on the back and it's more solid blocks of black underneath. And it's probably to do with the counter shading camouflage effects. Even if you look at impala, there's counter shading on impala, there's counter shading on manta rays, fish in the ocean. It's just probably the natural coloration of their pattern. I don't actually know the reason for it. But most of these sort of mammals out here either have disruptive markings like the Ngala and the kudu, where their body outline is broken up by lines or stripes, or they will have a sort of counter shading effect that's different on the top to it is on the bottom. Again, this assists with blending into the background. And I spent many mornings with Dylan in the hides, believe it or not, yes. Sitting on the cold, wet ground with Dylan in the hide, photographing birds. And the concept behind a hide, you don't have to be completely hidden between a sort of wall or lots and lots of piles of wood. No, you just need to break up your body outline. So there was only maybe 3 planks of wood there, and we're sitting, and we had lions come by, we had jackals, we had all sorts, and the predators did not see us. Maybe they heard us, maybe they could smell us, but they did not see us, because the manner in which a hide works is that it just breaks up that outline. The predator cannot make out that it's a human sitting there, bipedal man, potential threat. And it's similar to how the disruptive markings work on some of the animals out here. Just breaks up that body outline, so it's harder to understand what it is you're actually looking at. Now, I wish I knew who was who here. Don't quite know whose bum we're looking at. It's one of the cubs. See how camouflage it really is. I mean, we can see the rosettes there,
but you could easily miss that as you're cruising through the Mulwati. Leopards are actually more difficult to spot than you realize. And not all organisms out here are primarily visual. Humans are. But some organisms rely more on their hearing or their sense of smell, and therefore their eyes will not be the more dominant of the senses. They may be slightly weaker. So if a body outline is broken up, you may not actually pick out that there's a predator there or there's a prey species there. I don't think we're going to get much better views than this. But the Mulwati at the moment is a perfect place for a leopard to spend the day, especially on a kill. Lots of options of shade and plenty water nearby. So we may sit here for a little bit longer in hoping that we get better views of our trio of spots.
Welcome back to the Mara, where we've come across this hippo, this lone hippo bull, who seems like he's not interested with the Egyptian geese who are noisy. A little while earlier we had a fish eagle and a Goliath heron all here. The Egyptian geese are super noisy. That's the female going quack, 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 quack. They're typically grazers, so as they're walking like this, they'll be feeding on the grasses. They just pair for life, so you always have to see these Egyptian geese in pairs, where they're also territorial. If another Egyptian goose comes along here, they'll definitely be in a fight, where this male and female will always chase them away. This is a small tributary that feeds the Mara. You can see that hippo bull is just walking away from us here. Most of the time when you come across hippo bulls, they'll always be kicked out of the river. So coming upstream and maybe walking on the mainland to find a good place to feed and to rest. There's an Goliath heron there. A little while earlier he was almost fighting with the fish eagle. This is one of the biggest or the largest herons that we have around. Do you see something there? Herons are patient hunters, and they can stay there for almost an hour, just waiting patiently for the perfect strike. Change position to watch over the water to see if the fish are getting closer. The one to the left, that's the male, and the one to the right is the female. He's trying to court her. A little while earlier, they just mated, and I think he's trying to court her, but she's busy grazing there. always patiently waiting also. But you find sometimes these herons will be always in the mainland where they'll be hunting for snakes, rodents. I've seen them. Yes, got something there, I think. Maybe a tadpole. See, he's slowly swallowing whatever he got there. Very patient hunters. Stefan, yes, there's lots of fish. Here we have lots of frogs also. So mainly what we have around this particular area is the catfish. And when the water levels go down, you'll find that there'll be lots of herons around these water pools. But also, since it started raining, all the frogs that were hibernating, they've all come out. Now, as we drive along, we always hear lots of frogs calling, the reed frog, all types of frogs. So there's lots of amphibians and also the fish. Seems like they've changed position, decided to come back to the water. You can see the male is slowly following him, rather. See, here he stop. Even though they are grazers, sometimes you find that they will eat on small aquatic invertebrate, especially freshwater plankton. Sometimes we have plankton in these waters. You find that they'll also eat grasshoppers, even locusts and worms. The male is busy trying to court her, but she's busy trying to find some food. These birds are aggressively territorial, and whoever comes around their territory, especially their own species, will always be fought off. These Egyptian geese are entertaining us so much. Just want to see what they're up to as we take you over to another live location.
Now from Greece to baboons. And there's so many. It's only that they have disappeared into the bush there. And the bush is very green and thick. Can be hard to see, but you can see them coming out. Looks like they're headed somewhere. Maybe one of their houses flooded, and so they're moving house. Maybe. Yeah, they live in troops of up to 60, up to 100 in different areas. And the ratio males to females is almost the same, so there's no competition. Big males can weigh up to around 40 kilos. Very dangerous, very strong, very fast. And also they have canines that can inflict serious injury. Very properly organized. When they move in thickets like this, you always find there is a sentry who has walked earlier on and he's up a tree. So in case of danger, he just needs to bark and everybody runs to the nearest tree. So they're well organized. Every now and then they make a mistake. Their main predator is lion and leopard. All other predators will try and avoid them. Cheetahs, wild dogs, jackals, they'll avoid them. They're very, very dangerous. And they are omnivores, very much like us. Plenty of grass, plenty of plant matter, fruit, even meat. And definitely they're not eating, so it means they're moving. They're headed somewhere. It's the only kind of baboon we have in Kenya, olive baboon. Sorry, we do have another one that is found in the coastal area. Yeah, he's riding jockey, very happy little guy. 2 for the price of 1, getting the sun at the same time getting a very good ride. We do get the yellow baboon, it's found in the coast region. But here is mostly the olive baboon. Yeah, they're everywhere there. Yeah, they're everywhere. But it's, the bush, you can't see them really well. Sometimes you'll find them associating with warthogs or impalas and even, amongst other antelopes. They know that they are safe when they are amongst other antelopes. Yeah, definitely they're going somewhere. And they have different types of roosting trees where they differ, or they prefer to be at different types of the year. So definitely they're heading to one of them. Look at that one on top there. Is that a baboon? Yes. And that must be one of the sentries. Is up a tree there, or maybe it's an eagle. Am I looking at my own thing? Let's have a look. No, it's an eagle. Something different. Let's have a look at it. I thought it was a baboon. It's the African fish eagle. It's a pair. Our light is not very good, sorry. But believe me, the African fish eagles, yes, they are. Look at them. It's a pair. They pair for life. They live for up to 40 years. And definitely they are not breeding, because when they're breeding, you always see one. They take turns to sit on the eggs, very committed to their egg or eggs. And from where they are, they can easily fish in deep water. They have amazing eyesight. Allows them to see underwater. It looks like everybody's trying to dry up. You hear the frogs. Even the frogs are very happy. There is fresh water. There is new water. Well, it's a beautiful sound of frogs. I'm going to leave you to enjoy it a little bit more.
Welcome to this side of the Mara where we have our Egyptian geese. I call this the Mugoro pair because this is the Mugoro stream and this is where we always find the Mugoro lionesses or the Mugoro pride. So I like to call this the Mugoro pair, where they're still noisy. You can hear the female going, and the male trying to shut her up by saying shh, shh. She's busy preening or cleaning her feathers. The reason why they're called Egyptian geese, they were considered sacred in the ancient Egyptian world. Because both parents use the ability to take care of their chicks and sometimes on the brood, you find that there's a round spot just on the belly where they actually use that as a spot where they'll cover their goslings when they're actually in a nest. Although they don't nest on the ground, most of the time you find that they'll be up on trees. They can take over hammock nest where they'll nest, or sometimes in holes. It's a nice spot to watch these Egyptian geese here, so I'm going to take a little bit of a while with them.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. It appears that all Craig and I can find for you all this morning is lions. And we've left that other pride quite a way behind us, and we went past those elephants we could see off in the distance. Unfortunately, they had moved into an area where we couldn't film them. But around the next corner, we found another pride of lions. And these are not at all related to the pride that we spent the earlier part of the morning with. This is a different pride of lions, the rival pride to that first pride that we saw. And looking at them, it looks like it's two lionesses, a sub-adult male, and then two little cubs. So not the full pride. There's still a lioness and two other sub-adult lions missing from this group. And I'm sure that they're not too far away. Look at the little patch of shade that they're tucked away into. Beneath, it looks like a buffalo thorn and a spike thorn that's growing over them. But it's yielded a very small little shadow that these lions have all piled onto each other to try and exploit for a bit of shade. And look at how close together they lie. Look at that little cub in the middle there. It's almost getting sandwiched between its older cousin, that sub-adult male on the right with his back to us. Don't know if you can see his little mane sticking up on the back of his neck. And look where he's looking. He's looking off into... There's a very dense thicket off to the right, the base of another spike thorn. And I wonder if that's not maybe where the other lions of the pride are resting. I'm going to just use my binoculars just to try and look into the shadows there to see if I can't maybe make out the white of an underbelly or a tail flicking or an ear flicking. It's very tough to see, it's very thick, but so far nothing. But I was talking about how they're all lying right on top of each other. Very affectionate, but also just trying to make use of this tiny little bit of shade. What are you looking for? That little male looking up into the tree there. Trying to get comfortable, giving himself a bit of a groom, and inadvertently bouncing his paw on that lioness's back there. Trying to get comfy, maybe a bit too comfy, or a bit too cozy. And he's now walking. Remember I said he was looking into that thicket. I wonder if he's... Let's see what happens here. I can just see his back going through that dark shade there. But it might be that that's where There's a tail flicking. I can't tell if it's his tail though or another lioness or one of his brothers. But there was quite a deliberate movement from him. There was no looking around to kind of get an idea for how nice the spot was. He walked straight there and lay down. So maybe in a bit we'll go and move around that side to see if the other lions are lying in that shade there. But very still now. Not moving around in there. Obviously pretty comfortable. He's laying down. Leaving these other two lionesses and the two cubs with now a bit more wiggle room, if you will. This lioness is lying with her paw resting on that cub's shoulder. I can't tell if that's mum from here. It's a bit tough to see. Have to get a very close look at their faces to try and differentiate between the lionesses of this particular pride. There's one that looks a little bit bigger than the others, and she's the mother of these two small cubs. There's also a lioness, some of you may remember, from a little while ago we showed her to you. She's got a very big gaping wound that runs down the front of her face that we surmise happened as a result of either a fight with one of her sisters over a carcass or maybe with one of the big dominant males. Either way, it was a very, very, very nasty wound. And for that reason, I think in just a bit, I think Craig and I might go and have a look into that thicket where that sub-adult male went now to see if perhaps she's in there, because I haven't seen her since the last time we showed her to you. So I think that's what Craig and I are going to do. We're going to move around, go see if we can see if there are more lions in that thicket. And if there are, we'll be sure to let you know.
Delicious. This giraffe is having a deep drink of this cool water. Oh, and with always the giraffes when they drink, that little flick to clear any water off of their bristly chin. Oh, peeking at us. Ah, yes, we are watching you. It was taking a very long time for this giraffe to choose where to drink water from, and it settled for this little, pool of water that's, I think, almost separated from the rest of the dam by this little pile of earth. Look how it has to reach down with its legs. It looks very uncomfortable. Watch for the flick. You can actually see the throat as the muscles push the water all the way up into its stomach. Very weird and odd way of drinking, but of course when you're a giraffe and you've got this incredibly odd shaped body, very unique shaped body, you gotta drink like that, and it's very vulnerable for them. That's why it takes such a long time to decide where to drink. Why this giraffe, even though it's a large male giraffe, still took a long time to figure out where to drink, because anything could be hiding there. If a lion is hiding in the thickets there, it could easily grab it by the neck. If it does that, then it's going to have a really tough time to shake the lion off and be able to stand up and run away. It's also, a big animal like this needs to drink not frequently necessarily, but he needs to drink a lot. See, going down for another gulp. If a giraffe like this weighs over 1,000 kilograms, let's say 1,200 kilograms, I don't know what that is in pounds, more than 2,000 pounds, and it's got to drink an average rough amount of about 5% of its body weight in water a day, especially on hot days like this. What is that? It's going to be like maybe 60 liters, something like that. 50, 60 liters of water. That's a lot of water. I did the math a while back, and I worked out a whole bunch of different animals and how much they drink per day, and I crunched the numbers. I came up with an average of about 5% of their body weight. I mean, think about it. We have to drink, 2 to 3 liters of water a day? That's an average person of about 60 kilograms, 70 kilograms, let's say. It's pretty good, I thought. See now, it's taken another drink and now it's looking around just to make sure nothing's sneaking up. There's a lot of sounds around us. A lot of birds are calling. No alarm calls. But just a general noise. Tyler, I don't think it hurts their legs to bend down like that. I don't think it's painful, but it's probably not very comfortable. That's why they don't stay in that position for very long. They don't finish drinking in one long gulp. They go down for, 20 seconds, drink, and then they stand up quickly, take the pressure off their knees, and then they go back to it. I'm sure they've got adaptations. They've got some interesting adaptations. I'm not sure about the knees. If you look at those front knees, they're very big, right? So they've probably got quite a lot of tendon and muscle structure around that to keep it stable. But they've got an interesting adaptation in their brain, because of course if you go upside down, if you put your head below your heart for too long, you'll find your head starts to pump, right? And you feel this like pounding sort of in your ears as the blood is pooling in your skull, basically, or around the skin around your brain. It's not very comfortable. But giraffes have this network of capillaries that surround its brain and act like a sponge. So the blood, although it's pumping furiously around its body, it diffuses gently into its brain, and so it doesn't get a head rush when it stands up quickly or when it leans down like that. I worked around the answer there. I can't tell you for sure. Is it painful? But I don't think it would be. I mean, it would be odd for an animal to have to do something that was painful for it as a part of its, necessity, like drinking. I mean, that would be odd. Look at the oxpeckers. All on its head there. There's 3 of them at least. Maybe there's a little build-up of ticks or parasites around its head. And giraffes can't reach there. They're not very social, so they don't groom each other. So the oxpeckers are hugely important. Without the oxpeckers gleaning all the parasites and the ticks, this giraffe would become overloaded with parasites and actually start to massively affect its health. Busy feeding from a tambuti, which is not a very palatable tree, generally speaking. It's full of toxic latex. If we were to eat a bunch of tambuti leaves, we'd be horribly sick. We might even die, to be honest. And the giraffes don't seem to suffer too many ill effects. I see them eating tambutis frequently. I've been told before that it often, or I don't know if it's true, but that many animals will feed on these toxic plants in order to purge their system. Maybe the toxicity kills off the parasites that might be in its belly, or the eggs, or helps to flush the system. Maybe they get a little bit of diarrhea, purges them. But I don't know if that's for certain. I know that many animals many predators will eat grass as a way to induce vomiting, which might also help to get something out. Now it's invisible. An invisible giraffe hiding amongst the tambutis.
Well, from giraffes to another village of baboons. I think the rain has denied them a little bit of their freedom, and they're loving being on the track, on the road, to dry up completely. They were more, but the sound of the vehicle chased them, but they're all over here. Look at them. Everybody is resting, enjoying the sun, but they're all very alert. If I do start the vehicle, they'll run to the nearest tree. Very social. Baboons, you will find young ones play fighting. It is important to strengthen their body muscles, also develop wrestling skills, and also develop reflexes to help them outmaneuver one another during a fight. Also develop a hierarchy, who is stronger than the other. Looks like they're very busy here. There is one coming right here. I don't know what he wants. You see him? He seems to be very interested in me. Yeah. Yeah, he's like, who's boss? Yeah, yeah. They will sometimes open their eyes wide to scare you and also show you their fangs, their long canines to intimidate you. Typical of many primates, they do that. Yeah, he ran a long way to come, and he's very confident, this one. Not any other came this close. Very, very confident. There's so many of them. There's lots of youngsters enjoying the grass. They have amazing eyesight, these guys, during the day. But at night, they're very much like us. And that's why predators like leopard really hunts them during the night. A good time to relax and enjoy the morning. Moondat. Are these baboons related to each other? Yes. Definitely they are. Somehow they are related from grandmother, daughters, sons, their children, and their grandchildren. So they are related. And they can amount to around 1 to up to 100. In case of any threat, big males like the one facing away, being groomed, being cleaned from ticks and lice, would actually gang up and just go towards the danger and ward it. They're actually very, very, very dangerous. It's an animal you don't want to corner. I don't know what disease they carry. They would carry actually, I think, rabies. So you don't want to bite from them. If not, you can imagine all the bacteria from what they've been eating over the years accumulated in their teeth, going through your bloodstream. So it's not also very good to be bitten by them. Let me try and get closer because I'm quite a distance away. I don't know if they'll scamper away. Let's see. Sometimes when you give them a bit of time to relax, you are able to get close. But also you have to be very careful if you see any movement. When they start moving away, you have to stop. But right now it's very okay. I can see that. Okay, maybe it's time for me to stop now. And then maybe a few more minutes and then I can move closer. This is one way researchers get too close to animals because they have enough time. If you give them enough time, they always relax. Definitely, it's a good place to sun. There's many trees surrounding them. In case of danger, they can always run towards one. Although their tail is coiled downwards, they are able to stretch it upwards if they need to. It's a tiny little one. Must be. Banilulu Jumbo, if I was, to walk in between them, would they attack? No, they will not attack. Because they see me approaching them, they will get away. But if I was to corner them, like I walk in around and they're all there, males will gang up and attack me because the reaction of the young ones, they squeal because of, being scared. They're being afraid. So they squeal and cry. And with that cry, to reassure them, the males will attack. They gang up and attack, and the reaction is very automatic. They'll just come towards wherever the danger is. So it's two situations. If I got out right now, everybody will go away because they have that safety distance. I haven't broken their safety distance, so they will go away. But if you break that and you're too close, it's very, very, very dangerous. Look at them, all relaxed, enjoying the morning. That one is down on his back, being cleaned. Yeah, they can go on their twos, as you saw that one there. If the grass is too high, they can stand on their hind legs to have a better look. Let's see if I can get closer again. Gonna stop. There is a warthog approaching from the left. I don't know what the reaction will be. Could be interesting, but actually looks like the warthog has relaxed. With their presence, I think it's confident that there's no predator around because they have good eyesight and the warthog knows that. Yeah. Lots of cleaning, part of daily routine that they go through before foraging, heading out. That's a big papa, you see, and tiny little one. Well, this is so beautiful. I'll let you enjoy it for a few more seconds before we take you to another live location.
We had to leave Sabui, unfortunately. It got very busy, so we've just turned a corner and spotted a mythical creature wallowing, cooling down in the mud. I believe this mythical creature is known as a spotted hyena. I wonder why this hyena's in the area. If any of you can ID from this very limited visual, #WildEarth, please let us know. I have not seen a hyena in so long, I've started to forget what they look like. Yes. Perfect ears, fluffier coat, youngster. About 50 meters away from, maybe 100 meters away from Sabui. Do you think this is a coincidence? I think not. I just love seeing hyenas wallow like this. It must feel so good. They always look so relaxed. And of course, Sabui and cubs have the kill hoisted, so it's well out of reach. But there's 3 of them, so it could be messy, and the cubs probably haven't perfected their dinner manners yet. So any hyena that is at the bottom of the tree could actually end up getting very, very lucky. But what a sighting. I am going to try and see if we can get there nice and early this afternoon, so it's not so busy. It's not often we spend time with Sabui. She's probably the leopardess, or one of the main leopardesses that's territorial around here, that we spend the least time with, I would say. I think we see Kuchava marginally more than we see Sabui. But wherever there's a leopard on a kill, there's a hyena nearby, and I find that opportunistic way of surviving out here fascinating. They have the cognitive ability to understand that if they follow a leopard, it may or most likely will lead to food. They don't follow the food or follow the scent of a carcass. Of course, if that fills their nostrils, then they're off. But they follow the leopards. And I mention this regularly. I know I'm not trying to repeat myself, but I do believe the hyenas recognize the individual scents of leopards. They know exactly which leopard they're following. They can analyze those chemical compounds that are in the urine, that are in the scent marking fluid, and they understand who they're following. So, for example, Tlalamba is a great leopardess to follow. Not only is she always in the heart of Djuma, or almost always, she's always killing. Sometimes she has 3 carcasses on the go at the one time. I'm not sure Tandy taught her much about sustainability, but at least she's prepared for an apocalypse. Good old Tlalamba. Now, facial features and coloration is not too far off Swazi, but I'm hesitant. I don't know if I got Swazi's ID wrong the other day, and yes, I'm completely out of practice. I'm happy to admit that. But this individual does look a bit Swazi-esque. But this is the pan next to Lauren's favourite pan, just south of Twin Dams, and we're all having a little bit of a bet, shall we say, between the Eastern Channel and us. Which waterhole is Sabi going to go to drink? Because she will need to drink, and I'm hoping it's going to be our waterhole, Twin Dams, or this one. I'm not sure anyone would want to drink out of this waterhole. So we're going to try and stay here as long as we can while you are whisked off to another location in Africa.
Okay, to begin. Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda, everyone. Unfortunately, the lions have, in similar fashion to the lions we started the show with, not moved very much. Craig and I did go and have a close look into that thicket, and it looks like there's just that one sub-adult male that went in there. So it's only these members of the pride here for now. We're still missing the 2 sub-adult males on the other lioness, but I'm pretty sure they're not far from here. I wonder if perhaps the lions didn't maybe make a kill last night, and it's maybe tucked under a thicket here somewhere, and those members of the pride are still feeding or just wanting to stay near or nearer to the carcass. I did also hear about from some of the other rangers in the area that apparently there was the carcass of an old giraffe bull not far from here, and I wonder if the rest of the lions are not maybe feeding on that carcass. Maybe these lions have had their fill already and have started to move away from it. I'm not exactly sure how old it is, though, because I've been looking in the direction of where I heard the report coming from, or where they had told me the carcass was, and I don't see too much in the way of vulture activity or birds of prey circling or diving down there. Of course, it would be the diving down towards the ground that would be more indicative of there being a carcass there, but I haven't seen any of that, so maybe it's quite well covered, just like these lions, maybe in the shade. But I think these lions are just going to keep staying or keep sleeping in the shade of this tree for this hot day.
Welcome back to andBeyond Ngala, everybody. We were actually looking for the Birmingham Pride this morning, and we found the tracks of a pride of lions and thought, well, we've got to try our luck. And we found the Birmingham Breakaway Pride. So this used to be part of the Birmingham Pride, and then they actually split up when the drought started. But this young male has been entertaining us. He's found himself a stick. And he's busy chewing on it and moving it around with his paws. And I think that's because he's nice and cool in the shade, so he's feeling a bit playful and energetic. So he's actually incredibly big for his age. This pride is from this area of andBeyond Ngala in our northwestern side. And in fact, he's only around 2 years old, so he's incredibly big for his age. You can see his mane starting to grow really nicely. But I think it's just incredibly cute that he's still so fascinated by a stick at this age. Typical cat, fascinated by small things, energy at weird times. Look at his size as he gets up there. moving further into the shade. So there's actually a lioness that's grooming herself really nicely just to the left of where he was. And behind you can see some more lying down flat. So there's actually 11 lions in this pride. And with the 2 Ross males, which have also taken over this pride, it would become 13. Mr. Bipolar, I have never thought to compare lion and kangaroo foot size, but I would think a lion's foot size is a little bit bigger. A big male lion can have a paw size, especially with his front paws, of about the size of a dinner plate. And I can't imagine that a kangaroo foot would get near that big. I know they can be incredibly large, but I think also the different shape makes them a little bit smaller. The lions need that really big spread of their toes for hunting and moving fast. But I would think a lion's paws would be much bigger. Also bearing in mind a big male lion would get up to about 250 kilograms. So you can imagine the amount of power to move that body weight at speed if he needs to. But also to take down things like a buffalo or even, a giraffe or a wildebeest. He'd need very, very large paws. I mean, a big male lion is capable of breaking something's neck with just one swat of that paw if it wants to. But it's a really interesting question. Thanks for asking that, Mr. Bipolar. I've never thought of comparing those two. So it's actually quite lucky, especially this time of the day. It's gotten quite hot here. So it's actually quite lucky that we're seeing any activity at all, because usually by 7 in the morning, lions can be flat sleeping in this kind of heat. We are going to be incredibly hot today, and since about 7 this morning, we've been feeling the heat ourselves driving around. But what's interesting is that actually the last time that we saw this pride, we actually saw them yesterday briefly. They had a very old lioness with them that was very skinny looking. She was in very bad shape. And we don't see her here, so I think she may have gotten left behind. Maybe she couldn't keep up with them because they've moved, I would say, on average, as the crow flies in a straight line, maybe 5 or 6 kilometers from where we saw them yesterday. And I think maybe she just didn't have the energy to keep up, so she might be somewhere completely different on the reserve, trying to follow their scent to where they are now. But there's actually also a lioness that isn't here that has slightly younger cubs, maybe about a year old or so. So I'm going to sit here for a while, see what these lions do. Maybe that lioness will get up and move over to where the young male went. But what a lucky start.
From the lioness to the Cape Buffalo here, who seems like they're enjoying the grass there while walking into the bush, staying closer to the croton bushes where it repels them from flies. I can see these are old bulls. We call them the bachelor bulls or the mud boys, the dagger boys. This is always where we always find them. And behind there's a little swamp where oftentimes I've found them cooling in the waters. They don't walk long distances. They'll always be around here where there's adequate water supply, good forage area. But sometimes we find that if there's no availability of grass, sometimes they tend to eat on the bushes, the leaves on those bushes. But now that our November, December rains are here, I'm sure they're happy because there'll be adequate water and fresh grass. There's always about 11 over here, but I can only see 3. Maybe the other ones or the rest are behind those bushes. There's always security in number. So by being 3 of them here, at least they can protect it from lions, who sometimes prefer old bulls like this because they tend not to walk too far, or sometimes when they get ambushed when they are in the mud pools, when they are mud wallowing. The rains provide them a little bit of comfort because they get cool. But I'm sure later on when you come here, they'll all be covered in mud. Seems like the rain has washed away the mud that had been on their body, so at least they need to go back and do a mud bath. He's watching us, but not quite sure what we are. You can see he's trying a little bit to sniff the air, to get a little bit of scent, get to know what we are. They have a very high sense of smell. And the reason why so many people have been gored by buffaloes, because they get to see or smell them before they get closer to them. So often on a walking safari, we always be careful of such creatures. These buffaloes are always mean. You can't really get close to them without being charged. They cover a small home range, which is about 3 to 4 square kilometers, because within that area is where those areas are treated like territories, but they really don't have territories. They have what we call home ranges. So you can see sometimes they'll be on that pool there or that swamp, and then extending over to where I'm pointing, there'll be another swamp area where we always find them. You can see the rest have actually walked, or one has actually walked into the swamp to cool off, and I'm sure those 2 are almost heading there. The reason why they like such places is because they've lost Tyler, do we ever intervene when an animal is badly injured or sick? It depends with the species. So we'll intervene if there's a cheetah, lion, leopard. But sometimes when it comes to herbivores, we have lots of herbivores, so they will be controlled by hyenas. The reason why we have hyenas, so they take care of the sickly and the weak. So we only interfere when a herbivore has a human-inflicted injury, maybe a snare, or maybe it has a spear, or maybe an arrow. That is when we'll interfere. But mostly on herbivores, we don't really intervene because we have control where hyenas will take care of that. But for cats, we don't have as many cats, so we'll always try and intervene. I've had numerous times where I've called the rangers because a lion has been gored or injured by a buffalo, so we'll always call for that. Yes, it's time to cool off. It's time for mud bath for that guy there. And seems like these 2 are deciding on whether to go or not. As I wait for this buffalo to get into his sauna, let me take you over to another live location.
Let's go. All right, here we are. And I have marabou stock, I have impala. Everybody loves it on the road today. Apart from that, I have a spowing clover, bottom left. And farthest away is yellow billstock, and way towards the tree I have buffalo. How good is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 species in one shot. Yeah, all those are male impalas. We call it the boys club or the bachelor herd. Normal for them to stick around together after being chased out of a breeding herd or a harem, where they actually eat up, spar, get back to shape, and then eventually go challenge whoever's got the females. Also here, I do have, what else do I have? Yes, I have a fish, a head of a fish. It looks like somebody had eaten it, definitely. Yes, I think this is catfish. They have those long whiskers. You'll see them to the left there. This is a very big catfish. And definitely the culprit here would be those two fish eagles we saw about 25, 30 minutes ago. Definitely, I would say they are the culprits. It's rather a very big catfish, and I'm very tempted to go and examine it more, to know if we have time. But also close to them, there is a striated heron. This is a heron that is rarely seen, and it crouches and stalks and hunts quietly in shallow waters for small fishes, frogs, and even insects. Look at how it's walking stealthily, walking really slowly. Look at that, moving one foot next to the other. I don't know if it's seen something. Let's wait and see. Striated heron, rarely seen. It's one of the small herons, and definitely it's hunting. It crouches like that, stalking its prey, and eventually does kill it by catching it very, very at lightning speed. He might look like he's doing nothing, but definitely he can see underwater for up to almost a few centimeters. And if there is a fish swimming towards the surface or a frog, definitely it's a goner. At the moment, they're having lots of fun because all the rains has swept a lot of fish and displaced them in places where they're not supposed to be. So it's very easy for this. Look at that. Do you see how fast he moves? There you go. Don't know if he caught it. Don't think so. Or maybe he caught it. See how it's got a very long tongue. You can see it on the side of the beak. Yeah, striated heron. Yeah, I'm gonna go and see if this fish definitely was eaten by fish. Always interesting to find out. Yeah, definitely it was eaten by a fish. You can see this. This is a claw from a fish. Definitely. Oh, it's still alive. Look at that. It's still alive and it's half eaten. Yeah, did you see it wiggle? Amazing. It's still alive. I don't know if it swim away if I get it into the water. But definitely you can see the whiskers. Hence the catfish. Looks like cat. Very long. It does help it feel the ground when it's swimming underwater in dirty water. Yeah, definitely it's got a very bad injury. I don't think it will survive, but definitely it's alive. It's been eaten almost halfway. It's amazing. Yeah, something else will get it, definitely. I'm very surprised that it's still alive. Well, that was something for me to understand that in order to see that it was still alive. I'll leave it because somebody else will definitely come and utilize it. They are not very tasty unless you're a very good cook. I'm going to move on.
Catfish sounds like it could use my dissection kit. Just put it out of its misery. So Mish and I, we are driving around Buffelshoek at the moment, and things are fairly quiet, but we've been seeing some beautiful trees. I, for one, you know that I really, really love trees. We just want to get up. We're going to get up closer to, there's a lovely marula just here. We can have a look at it. Also looks like there's an old knobthorn next to it there. Now, like I said, I really, really enjoy trees, and especially seeing the bush so green, and the way that the green changes is just stunning, absolutely stunning. I know Mish enjoys trees too. He's been telling me we saw a really, really tall leadwood with some mud on it, and we went and stood next to it, and we thought, my goodness, it really gives you the right impression as to the size difference between you and the elephant.
Yeah, that's special. I think, you know, it's, you say that's been a quiet drive. Quiet drive maybe in terms of the higher profile species or the big five, but it's still been dynamic because it's constantly changing. Like you're talking about the marula, I see the marula now, it's got leaves, obviously it's summer and that, but is it an evergreen or?
Well, no, so the marulas, you'll see them lose all their leaves. All of them completely, and they look kind of like these dead shells of the bushveld. But before you know it, they are leafy, and of course when those fruit come out, that is just it. I can't help it, but on a game drive, just stop every time I see some of those fruit, pick them up for a bit of a snack.
Yeah, it would be great if one of the Explorer Club subscribers were here in February, March during the marula season, and they'd be able to get to taste one of these fruits. That would be great.
That is something that is actually, that you're speaking about, is something that I think the rest of the world really misses out on. The taste of a marula fruit is extraordinary. 100%. So Mish, we've got a question for you, and that question is, what is your greatest memory of Djuma? Now, I know that you're much like me, and it's very difficult to choose a favorite, a best, a greatest, or whatever. But is there anything you can tell us is your greatest?
Who posed the question?
At the moment...
It was Chris. Was it Chris? I think it was Chris.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, Chris, an interesting question. As TRISHALA says, you know, it's, to be put on the spot and saying, what is your greatest memory? And I'm going to answer it in two ways. One is obviously from the bush perspective, or the fauna, the animal side of things. I've had many experiences, but I think for me one of the most memorable experiences was during the lockdown period. We've all been living under the shadow of COVID, and we had an amazing opportunity to see just after the birth, the presentation of Ribbon with her two cubs, and we've been able to monitor the cubs' progress over the last 7 months. I think that was one of the major highlights, I would say, of my life. On the other side, and it's about the relationship between WildEarth and Djuma. Fantastic over 22 years, what Graham and Emily and the entire team, it's been this symbiotic relationship between the two companies, and that is, for me, has been very satisfying.
Thank you so much, Mitch. So that question was from Stuck in Bed. I hope that was satisfactory for you, but that's also been an amazing experience for me and for us, is to watch those cubs. Well, like I said, it's been quiet, but like Mish said better, it's been dynamic. So thank you all for your questions and your comments. As usual, you know how we love it. And we'll see you this afternoon. Bye for now.